The Associated Press released a new United Nations report on the current state of Gaza and what their future looks like, and it ain't pretty. So they say the following, quote, a new United Nations report says Gaza could be uninhabitable in less than 5 years if current economic trends continue. The report released Tuesday by the UN Conference on Trade and Development points to the 8 years of economic blockade of Gaza, as well as the 3 wars between Israel and the Palestinians there over the past 6 years. Last year's war displaced 500,000 people and left parts of Gaza destroyed. The war has effectively eliminated what was left of the middle class, sending all of the population into destitution and dependence on international humanitarian aid, the new report says. Gaza's GDP dropped 15% last year, and unemployment reached a record high of 44%. 72% of households are food insecure. These are incredible numbers. They continue, the wars have shattered Gaza's ability to export and produce for the domestic market and left no time for reconstruction. It notes that Gaza's de-development, or development in reverse, has been accelerated. Wow. So they go on to say that both Israel and Egypt and their blockade is playing a big role in this. In fact, the Egyptian military is using water now to flood the last remaining smuggling tunnels that the Palestinians use. So they're getting it from all sides. All sides. Nobody is there for the Palestinians. It looks like nobody really gives a shit about them in any serious way. And it's crazy to think that in the year 2015, we can see this kind of devastation and brutality and suffering occurring right in front of our eyes, and we all just kind of shrug our shoulders and go, what do you expect? You know, Gaza's been in a situation like that for so long, I'm probably used to it or something. Nah, man, these are people that we're talking about here. You know, and that's not to say they've made all the right decisions all the time. Of course not. Do I disagree with the fact that in 2007 they put Hamas in power? Absolutely I do. But that's a non sequitur. That's a totally different issue from the current struggles that they face, and the fact that 72% of them are food insecure? I mean, this is craziness. And we discussed in the last incursion into Gaza, the IDF and Netanyahu, they engaged in, they bombed schools, they bombed hospitals, they bombed the only power plant in Gaza. These are war crimes, guys. And I feel like in the U.S., we're much more likely, or at least the media is much more likely, to dismiss it and not talk about it as long as the people committing a war crime are the people who are our allies. So Israel, Netanyahu, our top ally in the region, okay, maybe we'll be a little bit critical, but not too much critical because you're our buddy. Same with Saudi Arabia, too. Let's be clear here. It's not just Israel. Saudi Arabia gets almost a total pass in U.S. media for the beheadings that they do of people who engage in sorcery, people who are atheists, apostasy, drug smugglers, all these things. Like, okay, we're just going to behead you. In fact, beheadings have increased since the last king died. So we're looking at a situation, something needs to be done, and obviously it would start with the international community making Israel get to the table. Also, let's, say Egypt is culpable in fucking over the Palestinians as well, so you got to talk to them as well. Talk to Sisi. Try, hey, man, let's figure something out here. But you got to get to the table, and you have to try your best to get a two-state solution. And at this point, let's face it, it is Netanyahu who's blocking a two-state solution. Again, we covered the story. It was, not too long ago where the Palestinians, through Jordan at the UN, proposed a peace deal, a two-state solution along the 67 borders. Netanyahu rejected it out of hand. Now, you can say, hey, I don't agree with every aspect of the proposal. Fine, but have the conversation with the Palestinians and get a deal. But Netanyahu constantly walks away from the table. And when he walks away from the table and we're not actually moving towards peace in the region, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is there's going to be further radicalization of people in the Palestinian territories. They're going to turn more to Hamas because you're saying you don't want a peaceful solution because you walk away every time they try to do one. And then there's going to be more militants, and there's going to be more war and more fighting. We have to solve this. We have to fix this. I want long-term peace and stability, guys. The only way we're going to do that, some people now are big on the one-state solution. Oh, let's, however you want to do it. They say, let's have an Israeli president and a Palestinian prime minister and set it up so it's I don't think that would work out well. I think the divisions are too deep right now in order to, hey, just come together. It'll be great. I mean, there was an Israeli politician calling for segregated roads recently. It's not going to work out if you do it that way. You need a two-state deal. You need a giant fucking wall in between them. You need them both to get UN status. Israel, of course, already has it. The Palestinians should have it as well. And, you move from there. After you both have a state, tensions can go down a lot more. Because, Israel always says the Palestinians won't recognize our right to exist. You literally do exist, and you're not going anywhere. We're not going to let that happen. The U.S. isn't going to let that happen. You're not going to let that happen. You're not going anywhere. So since that's a fact of reality, you do exist. Well, how about the fact that you're quite literally stopping a Palestinian state from coming into existence, and there's all this devastation and brutality that's occurring in Gaza? Not to mention other land grabs that you've done very recently. You have to do a two-state deal, and you have to work towards long-term peace. The more you don't do that, the more you let them suffer in degradation, the more, militant you're going to create. As we learned from the last incursion, Hamas shot up in popularity over 15 percentage points after Netanyahu basically invaded Gaza and did all the bombings. It turns out when there are right-wingers in control in Israel and they're militant, you're going to shove Palestinians into the arms of right-wingers in Gaza and elsewhere because they think, well, peace fails. They don't want to work for peace. They don't want to do it diplomatically. So we're going to turn away from Abbas and we're going to go to Hamas because at least Hamas says, hey, we'll protect you. So we know how to de-escalate this. We know how to fix this. It just requires wanting to do it and working towards it. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the feeling is there. So we need to force the feeling to be there in various ways. The way I support the most is the economic route. Force Israel to the table. Again, like I said, talk to Egypt as well and make sure that they get their shit together. Force Israel to the table and say, we're going to get a two-state deal whether or not you like it, and you're going to feel the pain economically if you don't agree to it.